Hello, my name is William Shepard, and I'm going to be talking about mastering transactional emails with OneSignal. First, let's talk about who am I. I go by I am Will Shepard on most social media. I'm from Houston, Texas, born and raised. My background is in computing. I did computer science for a bit and then transitioned into software engineering, where I've been for over 10 years. In fact, I think this is year 12 right now. I'm a former open source software maintainer, and I'm currently serving as a developer advocate here at OneSignal. So let's first give a little bit of an introduction for what is OneSignal. Well, we're trusted by over 1 million development and marketing teams. We send about 10 billion messages a day. That's 10 with a capital B billion. Um, Overall, we own about 70% of the market share for web push and a little over 60% of the market share for mobile push. And we're installed on over 1 billion devices. Some of our larger partners include NFL and Shopify. So what we like to think of ourselves as is a omni-channel messaging platform, and we support all of these different channels. Mobile push, for your cell phone, stuff like this, iPads, that kind of thing. Web push, your browser. In-app push or in-app messaging, which is just like messages that are inside of your actual application. We support email, which is what I'm going to be talking about today, as well as SMS, where you can send text messages to your clients and customers. So let's get into today's topic, which is email. Here at OneSignal, we break apart our emails into two different categories. That's marketing messages as well as transactional messages. And we can further break those down into blast messages and triggered messages. Today, we're going to be focused on that lower right quadrant or the lower right section of the quadrant, which is the one-to-one API sends for our transactional messaging workflow. Some of the common use cases for email include welcome and onboarding. So for SaaS companies, if you sign up to a product, sometimes you want to send a message to your user to either thank them or like give them a little bit of more information about the product and where they can learn more. You can do that with OneSignal. Increasing revenue and conversions. This is for like e-commerce sites. If you're selling stuff and maybe people are buying a certain type of product, maybe you want to recommend another type of product. You can email them other products and maybe convert them. Announcements and newsletters. This is pretty common. Most of you know what this is. And then finally, transactional and account updates. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And I think that's become a little bit more popular, especially in this day and age with all of these different SaaS offerings and the ubiquity of email. So why should you choose OneSignal? You have all these other options out there. Why us? Well, the main thing is this is one platform to manage all of your messaging and all of your audiences. It becomes very complex to have multiple tools to try and like deliver on your business goals. So having one kind of helps out a lot. The other reason is for email, at least, we have a drag and drop email composer. So you don't need to know how to code. Although I expect that most of the people who are viewing this webinar, chances are you're developer focused. We also support full HTML editor where you can put in your own HTML as well as CSS. We don't do anything to guarantee that it's going to look properly. So you need to make sure that your CSS is spot on. And the other thing is, assuming you're using our drag and drop builder, your emails are going to look great and be responsive for mobile and desktop devices. Obviously, your custom emails will be that way too, but it's incumbent on you to actually make that happen with your CSS. Finally, setting up your emails. You can set up emails using OneSignal to be triggered via segments. So if you already have your marketing workflow set up, you can leverage your current segments to send emails. We do support 3 providers, and these 3 providers cover over 80% of the total market. They are SendGrid, Mailgun, and MailChimp, and using all 3 of these ensure that we keep a high degree of email deliverability. So let's transition into transactional email, which is actually the true topic of this. This is an example of a transactional email. This here is a invoice payment. And what you'll notice here is it includes some very personal information, stuff like my receipt number, my payment method, including the last 4 digits. I've blacked them out. So if you don't see it, that's good. Also, there's 2 call to action buttons, one to download the invoice, the other to download the receipt. Moving on, we have another transactional email. This one is a password reset. And this is not that long ago. I forgot my password on Ticketmaster. I don't even remember setting up the account, so I needed to recover it. And part of the recovery flow is you clicked on the I forgot my password. You're going to get an email that looks just like this one, and they're going to include this one-time password. Now I imagine that this is generated on their server, and then it's validated against when I submit the form back. So we have this little one-time password as well as some social media icons and links to learn more. So in this transactional email, not only do we have information that we need, we also have information that's promoting our other social channels as well as links to learn more information. Next, we have a order shipment, and this one should look very familiar, especially if you shop on Amazon. And this one is really special to me because it has this call to action to track a package. So if you click on that button, it's going to take you to Amazon where you can actually see like where your package is on a map. Some other information that this has is my order number, my shipping address, the expected arrival date. And as you can see, all of these are very personal to me. So some things to keep in mind with transactional email. They're always targeted to a specific user, right? Like you're never going to send a transactional email to a group of people because the information that's in it could be sensitive. Transactional emails shouldn't be promotional in nature. If the first thing that you're doing, or if the only thing that you're doing in your email is trying to promote your service or product, that's marketing, and it could get you in a little bit of trouble by sending that and not including that little unsubscribe link at the bottom of the email. The next thing is transactional emails don't require explicit opt-in. Instead, this is implied. Now, with that implied opt-in comes some responsibility on your part. You want to ensure that you're not doing things that can land you in hot water, like sending marketing emails guised as transactional emails. That will, it might get you banned. I would recommend to not do that. Finally, one thing that I think is really important to know is that transactional emails add additional steps to the user's workflow. So you want to make sure that you strike a balance between having a bunch of transactional emails versus having things that your user's going to have to do. Let's make it simple for them. So try to do as few of them as possible, or only when needed. Now that we've kind of touched on what transactional email are, we're going to go into how we can implement this using OneSignal. The first piece to this is the email templates. And what you see here on the left-hand side is our HTML editor. And just beneath that is our drag and drop editor. This is where you can go in and create your email templates. For our workflow that we're going to be demoing today, we need to have an email template so that we can send it to the user without having to specify it in our server, right? So let's kind of move forward from that. Oh, before I move forward, you can actually add data tags into both of these, into your HTML editor as well as your drag and drop editor. So emails can be customized dynamically whenever you send them. Next, we have the device API. This is where we're going to go to create our device. Here, we are going to add a new record if it doesn't exist on OneSignal. And if that record exists on OneSignal, we're just going to update it. And the reason why is that this particular endpoint has upsert semantics, meaning if it exists, it's just going to update it. And if it doesn't, it'll create it. And we're also going to use this particular endpoint to map our device record on OneSignal to our user ID inside of our system. So in your database, your user table will have IDs. We're going to actually map that to the OneSignal ID in OneSignal. The other last bit about this particular endpoint is that it's going to return the device record, which is the ID that you can then use to go and target that device at a later point should you need to. Next, we're going to use data tags. We're going to use this so that we can actually customize the email using data tag substitution. Important thing to note about data tags is that they are sent and stored as JSON, but we do have some rules for it. The main rule is that it has to be a flat JSON object, meaning it has no nesting. And all values can be one of 3 types: a string, a number, or Boolean. No arrays, no objects, because they allow nesting. Finally, we have the notification API. This API is kind of special because it provides a single endpoint for you to send messages across any channel. That includes in-app messaging, push notifications, web notifications, email, SMS, etc. We're going to target our particular device using the user ID, but you can also target devices via segments or filters. And what's cool about this is if you're sending an email, you can specify the email template using the email template ID, and that will go and select that template in OneSignal and inject the data in it before sending it off to the user. So with that, I'm going to move on to a demo. So let's hope that the demo gods are showing me favor today. Here I have a very basic Node or Next.js app, React and Node. This is actually an application that I'm building for like as a pet project, and I needed something to kind of show off a transactional email workflow. So what I've done is I've created a few email templates. They're all very basic. There's not really anything in here. I'll show you one. Account updated. You can see how basic this is. All I have is a message that says hello username. That username is going to be substituted via data tag substitution. That's what these little, let me zoom in if I can. That's what these little curly braces are. And then this little pipe here, this means or. So if there is no username, if this is null or undefined, it's going to default to human. So we shouldn't see human. If we see human, we know that things aren't working correctly. And then I just have a little message saying your account has been updated. And that's because I've integrated this into the app on the account page so that anytime you make an account update, you'll get an email saying, hey, by the way, your account has been updated. Oops, come back to here. All right, so let's kind of walk through this. First things first, I have this constant that I've defined, which is just an object that contains some information that I'm going to need to send off this request, this email. Number one is this ID. This is actually the template ID. This 67E actually corresponds to this template here. So if I come into this URL bar, you'll see, hopefully you'll see, that this is 67E66, and this is also 67E66. So it's just the ID to that template. And I've specified the subject. I'm calling it account updated. Whenever we send emails using the notification API, we have to include the email subject. So in this case, it's always going to be account updated. Moving on from that, I have a function called upsert email device. This function is going to go off and create the device record on OneSignal and also map that device record to our external ID. And the way I'm pulling that off is I'm passing in this external user ID, and I just map it like so. So whenever I create or update this request, the user ID that's in my system is going to automatically be associated to the record created in OneSignal. Just going through this a little bit, I'm just using fetch here. We can actually use the Node API, or I'm sorry, the OneSignal Node package, but I chose to just use straight fetch just to show how easy this is to kind of transfer from curl request to here. All right, so we'll move on to the next function, which is update tags. And hopefully, this should be self-explanatory, but I'm going to use this function to set tags, data tags, before I send the email. And I have to do this in OneSignal because at the moment, we're actually not able to send data tags at the same time as the email. That's a feature that's coming in the future. But for now, we set the tags before so that we can then have the email have the right data when we send it. So let's go a little bit into this. There's an external user ID that I'm passing to this function, and that's necessary because the way that we target the device that we want to update on OneSignal is we specify the external user ID. If you remember, when we created the device record, we passed in the external user ID. So we're just using that same ID here. And next, we are passing in tags. It's just an object. Remember that data tags is just a flat object, and I'm just spreading out my new tag. So whatever you give me, I'm just going to spread it out. And then we just send that request in, and we move on to the next one, which is send email. This is where all of the real magic happens. Of course, you need to pass in the email address and a subject and a template. And all I do is I create this body here, and I take the email, and I pass it on to this include email tokens, which is going to send the email to any email that's in this list. So right now, this is one email, but I can easily say email, assume that these are all different emails. I can email this to multiple people if I want. given that this is a transactional workflow, we need to only include one email because remember, transactional emails are sent to a single recipient. All right, so once that body is built off, I just submit the request as I do in all the other ones, and we are good to go. So let's move on to where all of this is currently sitting, which is in this function here, which gets called anytime I update my profile here in the Nosy app on the right. So what you can see here is I am pulling out the ID, username, avatar URL, website, email from the request body. And then all I'm going to do is call upsert. I'm using Supabase here, so it also has upsert semantics. I'm going to call upsert on the particular profile matching this ID, which is the current user that's logged in. Once I do that, if everything is successful, aka I get no errors, I'm going to create the email, or I'm going to create the email device in OneSignal, and I'm going to associate it to the ID that's returned from here, which is given here. Next, I'm going to update my data tags. And here is, again, the external user ID that I'm passing, and then the data tag that I want to update. In this particular example, I'm only updating one data tag, which is username. And I hope that that's obvious why. This is the data tag here, username. So I'm just going to submit that one data tag for this little demo. If it's successful, then we'll just return that it succeeded. Oh, I'm sorry, if this is successful, then we're going to skip this function. We'll return if it didn't succeed. And we're going to then send the email using the specified email template and passing in the subject. So let's see what this looks like if I were to just click this update button. I'm praying to the demo guys right now that this will work. All right, almost. We're almost there. Let's see if I got an email. So it looks like it sent the email. Let's see if I actually received said email. Sometimes it takes a few moments. I'm going to give myself that. Still waiting on the email. I'm going to check to see if we have any questions while I wait. No questions. Well, I'm going to try it again. Normally this works relatively quickly, but maybe today it's upset at me. I wonder if they're, oh, never mind. Here it is. Oh, I just got it. I felt it on my phone, on my wrist. Let's see if it's going to come into the browser anytime soon. No? Huh. All right. Well, let's see if we can debug. We'll come to trash. Is it here? Nope. 30 minutes ago. All right. Well, I guess it's not going to work now. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to come here again and I'm just going to try it again and see what happens. This is the correct response. Oh, okay. I don't know if y'all heard that. One of them just came in. So let me move over to there. And here you'll see that it says, hello, William, your account has been updated. How do I know this is correct? Well, remember, this is using the username. I'm going to come over to my database and come to my profiles, and you'll note that my username is, in fact, William. I can change this to I am Will because that's what I am, right? I'm William Shepard. So we'll save this off. And let's refresh this page. All right, it says that. We'll update. And let's see if we'll see I am Will Shepard in the email. We should. All right, so hello, I am Will Shepard. Your account has been updated, right? So this is my demo, right? Now it's not a lot going on, but it is a lot going on. This is all of the infrastructure that you need to deliver a transactional email workflow. At this point, it's really a matter of making your emails look pretty, deciding what data that you actually want to put in your emails, that kind of stuff. So that's going to conclude my demo. It almost went well. The demo guys didn't have favor on me today, so maybe next time. So with that, I'm going to end it here. Thank you all for joining this and sitting through my flailing on my email. And you can follow me on IMO Shepherd as well as follow our OneSignal account at OneSignal Devs on Twitter. That's it. Thank you. So I'm going to hang here for a little bit just to see if there are any questions. Actually, I'm not going to wait for questions. There are some things that I actually want to share. Anyways, one is you can actually look at the statistics and email deliverability of your emails. So here is the statistics on the emails that I just had delivered. Let me actually come to delivery so I can give you the latest ones. So this is the one that I just sent. You see 119.26 2 minutes ago. So I'm just going to click on this. And here you can see that it was delivered. Unique opens should be 1. And you can see all this other information. What's important to note here is that on all your transactional emails, the delivered should always be 1, right? Like you're sending this to an individual, not a group of people. So it should always be 1. So you'll either get 100% or 0%. The next thing is using our template. So I only showed you the GUI builder, but I also want to show you what the HTML builder looks like. So here's where you can kind of like put in your HTML. I'm not really great with HTML, so I'm just gonna pretend that I'm saying hello. So, say for instance you have a message, you can just create your HTML here and just drop it, and it will get rendered out here on the side, so you'll actually be able to see what it looks like. And if we go back to our GUI editor, maybe we'll just come to templates, and we'll come to this account updated. You'll see that we're also able to show what your email is going to look like on different devices. All you need to do is click on this desktop versus mobile. All right, so that's a little bit more information than you asked for, but hopefully having all of this will be useful. And I just realized that my screen isn't being shown. The demo gods. All right, hopefully you can see my screen now. Here is the page that I was trying to show, where you can see what your email looks like across different devices. So we have mobile as well as desktop. That's it. And I will go back and show the HTML editor since I wasn't sharing my screen. So we'll just click on HTML editor. And here's where you have your HTML editor. You just pop in your HTML here and it'll get rendered out on the right-hand side. All right, so that's it for real this time. Peace.